Hi there. Have you ever given any thought as to how long your sentences should be when you're writing your stories? And have you ever realized that that's actually one of the most important parts of writing your stories? If you want to hear more, then stick around and listen to this video. Hi there. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Lisa Oliver. I write paranormal romance stories, and I've roughly got 80 odd of them, 85 I think it is at the moment. I've been writing and self-publishing for the last 9 years. And the purpose of these videos is to help people to do what I do, which is make a comfortable income and support myself in doing it. But back to the sentences. If you want to know about me, Google me or type my name into Amazon and you'll see what I'm talking about. But you're writing your books, and that's brilliant. I'm always excited when people actually start sitting down and they actually start writing their stories. You know, there's so many barriers to it. People think they don't have time. They think they're not sure, they've got too many ideas, or they haven't got any ideas, or they just, they get into a whole hoo-ha about it. But when the writing starts, the magic happens. Believe me, it truly does. That's why I write so many of them. But when you're writing, you want to be looking at creating flow. And for an idea on what I mean by that, if you think about it in other areas of our lives, if we go to an art gallery, for example, then we look for recognizable patterns. Even in abstract art, our eyes are trained, we look for patterns. And if we don't find them, we usually find it very difficult to appreciate that particular sort of art. It's the same with music. If you're listening to music, whether it be on your Spotify or on a video, or you're listening to people playing instruments in a club or a bar, it's really, really noticeable when somebody plays the wrong note. I should know. I used to date a musician, and believe me, that used to be, yeah, the makings of a bad evening if that happened. But the whole point of putting across a song or a piece of music is that all the notes flow together. And the strange thing is it's much the same with the written word. We look for flow. It's not intentional, but for us to appreciate something or to enjoy something, we're looking for recognizable patterns. We're looking for that flow. And that flow, for the main part, is dictated by the length of the sentences that the writer uses. Think of it, if you like, as like the pacer of a story. The sentence length creates the pace. If you write short, sharp sentences, then you create impact. If you create long form sentences, then you're setting a mood and a tone that's more soft, enjoyable, intimate even. But if every sentence you write is short, then that impact of the short sentence loses its effect. Same as if all of your sentences are roughly the same length and they're all in that melodic, is that a word? I think it is, in that melodic, soft flow. It's very beautiful, very boring, and most likely going to put your reader to sleep. So when you're looking at your story, I don't want you to think about this sort of thing when you're actually writing, because as you know from my writing sprints videos, which you see over on Lisa Writes, there's a link to that channel below if you want to follow along with some live writing sprints. You know that the important thing is when you're writing your first draft is you want to get your words on a page. You want to get as many words on the page as you can. You want to tell your story. So you're not caring about rhythm or flow or sentence length or even editing or anything else like that. You are just getting the story written. But when you go back and have a look at what you're doing, you look at these incidences where you want high impacts. For example, say two characters of yours are fighting, for example, whether it be a verbal argument or actually a verbal argument probably isn't a very good example, but if you've got a situation where two people are physically fighting, then you want short, sharp sentences to show what the impact of a punch, the impact of a kick, the impact of how a person might fall. The readers will pick that up in the crispness of your short, tight sentences. That is not a time to be wordy. And my readers will tell you, I am probably one of the wordiest people around. I'm forever adding words into what I write. But I do that for flow. Because when I'm writing my stories, I look at them like a tapestry or like a song, like a song. I want it to have movement. I want the story to have a beat to it. I want for my readers to enjoy reading it. I want for them to be thinking, it flows along and it flows along and then pow, 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 and then it flows along and then it flows along. And I want to get my readers caught up in that song, in that spell, if you like. So they'll keep turning the page because, of course, when you're writing for readers, well, you ultimately write for yourself. But when you're self-publishing, you'd kind of like for your readers to enjoy your work as well. And that flow, that song, that spell is what keeps your reader going. One more page, one more chapter. Oh no, I've reached the end of the book. And they're disappointed about that because they wanted to keep reading. And you do that by creating that flow in the reading process. It's all totally subconscious. I mean, obviously, you've also got to have, within fiction, you've got to have likable characters, or at least characters the readers can relate to. You've got to have interesting plot lines, otherwise it's just boring. People are not going to read the back of a cornflake box simply because you've adjusted the lengths of your sentences if you slap that in the middle of your book. So I wonder if anybody's actually tried to do that. But the impact of your sentences and how the length of those sentences and how they impact the mood that you are generating at the time with your words is a really important thing to continue or to at least think about, especially when you're reading back. As I say, not when you're sprinting, not when you're doing your first draft, but maybe when you have finished your book and you go back and do, sort of your read over. Maybe think then with a reader brain and think to yourself, if you go along and is there something that jars you out of the story? It can be a word. It can be a wrongly used word that will do that. But if you jar your reader out of your story, it's very, very hard to get them back into it again. And that's where this whole sentence structure, the sentence length, and everything else comes in. You want your readers to feel comfortable in your story, or not, if that's the type of story you're writing. But how you structure it, how you layer it, how you string different length sentences together creates that mood, creates a sort of like an underlying foundation for your words and for what you're trying to convey in your story. So the next time you've sort of finished, well, perhaps if you've finished your writing section today, go back and have a look over what you've written today and think to yourself, is this an intensive scene? Do I need shorter sentences? is this a more intimate scene? Are we giving the readers a breather, which we quite often need in very high action books? So, you know, if you write action stories and dramas and things like that, um, thrillers, you need to give the audience or your reader time to breathe. So, have you written one of those scenes where everybody can go, oh, and they've all temporarily forgotten about the murderer behind the tree, you know, or is there somewhere where we're confronting the murderer behind the tree, in which case, you know, that's all gasps and shorts and everything's all clipped and pushed together to create that whole feeling of urgency. So have a look at what you've been writing and drop it down in the comments below if you can see the different way you use sentences to help underpin the emotions that you're actually writing about. I think you'll be really surprised, especially if you're an avid reader as well, like I am, how much you actually already do this completely self-consciously, subconsciously, I should say. And it is a really neat way of adding that flow and that connection, that rhythm to your stories that will encourage your readers to keep coming back and reading them over and over again. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. It's only a little thing today, but as you can see, I've managed to get my new house fairly sorted, and I'm slowly getting back into the feel of things. I put out a new book on August the 29th. That was Don't Judge a Prince by His Undergarments. And if you want to see some flash little tidbits from there, then pop over to Lisa Wrights, because I was writing a lot of that while I was sprinting, so you'll see that there. We've also, JP Sale and I have got Markov, which is book 4 in the Tangled Tentacles series. That's coming out on the 22nd of September 2022. That is already on pre-order, so the link for that will be below. And I've also just did the edits for Eradicate yesterday, so keep an eye out for that one. That will probably go on pre-order and go up for sale just after Markov. So it'll probably be about the 26th to the 29th of September 2022. So, yeah, so there's been a fair bit happening. There's a fair bit doing, and it actually feels really good to get back into writing again. And I've also been doing some resin work and creating some new t-shirts for myself, because summer's just around the corner for us here in New Zealand. But yeah, so, and I also have an Etsy store where I sometimes showcase some of my designs there as well, if you're ever interested. The only other thing I think that's down there is a buy me a coffee link, but that's not actually a buy me a coffee link because I don't drink coffee. I drink tea. But it is a buy me a book link, which is where I have a system whereby I donate a lot of books to my readers who, for whatever reason, have not been able to afford to buy my books when they've wanted to. And I've been doing this for the last 2 years now since COVID, and although things are dying down, unfortunately, you know, for many, our financial situation's not getting any better. So if you want to donate to that, it's always gratefully received. In the meantime, thank you for listening. If you have any questions, anything at all, please drop them in the comments below. Please hit like and subscribe. Apparently, I'm also meant to mention my super thanks that my channel's now entitled to, but that's entirely up to you. I just want for you to be able to have the lifestyle that I have, which is basically sitting here with my messy hair, writing when I feel like it, and making an income from it. I know you can do it too. So, yeah, hit the like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye. Oh, hug the ones you love. Bye.